Hello everyone, welcome to this week's video. Let's go over what is coming up for it. I know everybody's waiting for Nvidia's earning, which is gonna be Wednesday after the close, but we do have a couple others that you do definitely want to keep an eye on. You got Walmart, Lowe's, and Target. Those are the ones you definitely want to pay attention to it. I know a lot of people trade NIO as well, so that's another one that you might want to keep an eye on. And then Thursday after close, we got Gap. There was quite a bit of a flow on the Gap as well, so something that we will definitely be watching. And then we got the calendar for the coming week as well. What are the things that we need to watch? We have on Monday we got the home builders confidence index, then Tuesday we got the building permits and housing stats, and then I believe we also have Wednesday Fed minutes coming, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see it here, but I believe those are coming out this Wednesday as well. And then Thursday initial jobs, and then the PMI data that is gonna be coming out on Friday. So a lot is gonna be happening, especially when it comes to Nvidia, that everybody's eyes are on Nvidia, what it is gonna be, what are they gonna be, the guidance can look like it. So that's something that you really want to listen to close to it. And how is their Blackwell sales been doing? So those are the things that you definitely want to pay attention to it. What kind of numbers are they gonna be throwing out? So that's something you want to watch. I think the last time, let me just quickly look at my notes. What was the number last time did they give us? So for this quarter, they gave us the 32.5 billion. That's the guidance. So now let's see what are they going to be doing for the next one, for the next quarter, for Q4. What are we going to be getting? The quarter before that was 28, and then the previous was 24, and the one for Q4 of that was it Q4? We got 20 billion for that. And so we need to see if they are gonna be expediting or whatever, like they're gonna be over these 32 millions for the guidance or under for it. So that's the number that you want to watch. And let's see, are they gonna surpass that for what they gave us? And then what is it gonna be for the next one coming up? Is it gonna be 35, 37, or 36? That kind of is the number that aligns with it based on what they have done previously. So that's something that you definitely want to listen to it, especially if you are a long-term investor in Nvidia. Okay, because I know a lot of you are holding their stock as well. So please pay attention to that before jumping into it. All right, we'll also look at the chart before we look at rest of the market, since this is something that everybody wants to know. So this is where we currently are on Nvidia. We had a lot of flow come in, even the dark pool print. So that's why you have this yellow line, as you see on my chart, the 139.90 area. There is a phantom print on it as well. So there is a room that it could go back up and test this trend line, or you can call it as a bearish pendant. A lot of people will interpret this differently, but at the end of the day, I want you to remember, when it comes to earnings, it is a pure gamble. If you are taking a trade, make sure that you are okay with losing the money on it. Don't just jump in. You think that Nvidia is gonna break out and go to 160? Yeah, possible, it can. There is also a possibility it can dump. And there's a possibility both sides of your contracts can get burned. Currently, Nvidia's IV is sitting at about 86%. And this week, we are going to see that go to 110, 120. And then we're going to start to see the drop in it. And that drop is going to affect if you are an options trader. So anytime you're taking trades for earnings, just make sure that you are willing to lose that amount. If you have a small account, please don't chase it. It's not worth it. You can always day trade the next day. You can always look for a pullback for an entry. Don't have FOMO. I know so many people blow up their accounts just trying to chase these earnings. It is not worth it, okay? And if you do want to play, just make sure have a separate account for earnings and you only play your earnings in there and you are okay with taking the loss. Be prepared with that mentally. Okay, all right, so that's what we got on Nvidia. Anything is possible. I haven't changed my standard deviations because so far we are currently rejecting the 4.5. So I want to see if it is going to give it a try. If we are breaking above this trend line, I will look for my next, where do I want to look for my swing low to mark my next standard deviations and then get my next targets based on it. So for now, there's a possibility we come down and test this demand zone. There is a possibility that we continue to move upside it. Nobody knows right now what it's gonna do, if it is gonna beat their earnings and move to that. We've seen companies give good earnings and based on their guidance, the stock end up dropping. We've seen everything is perfect, yet stock goes sideways. So please don't project and have a bias and be stuck with it. Keep an open mind about it, okay? All right, so let's see what the market is doing. On ES, based on what we talked about it last week, we are down in our fair value gap. We did test the 50% of it and we had a bounce from here. We did have on a smaller time frame demand print as well, and we did bounce and we held that 58.88 level as well. And it was a perfect 50% bounce from here as well at the end of the day. What we want to watch now for the coming week is if we are able to get above the 5900 area. Once we get above the 5900 area, I want to see it break above this 59, 54, 55 zone. If we can break above, especially watch your 1 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour time frame. If the candle is closing above, you can target your next supply zone, which is at the 6000 level. However, if we are starting to break below from this 50% of the Fibonacci trace of the fair value gap fill, if we are starting to pull back, the first simple target is to get this fair value gap filled all the way down to 58.25 area. If we do fill that and we are starting to still continue to break, these are my next levels. 58.13, I'm watching this next as well, the 5800, just a key level, the whole number to watch, and then 57.75, and then we got our demand zone. This demand is pretty used demand, so if market is really bearish, we could flip that and continue to the downside of it. Not saying it's going to happen in one day, not saying it's going to happen in 1 week, but these are the levels I am watching. Then next is our NQ. This one filled a little bit more than pretty much the whole fair value gap. We ended up filling it on Friday. So right now I want to see where does Monday open up first, and are we getting above this 20,600 level to the upside of it? Otherwise, this one is pretty close to my demand zone. I would love a pullback into this area. Anywhere if we can tag the 20,221 or 20,200 even number, that would be a nice bounce and then retest back up on this supply zone. So that's what I am watching on NQ. Let's go to SPY. SPY touched the top of our gap and bounced. So 58,584 is currently your support. We held that and we bounced from it. So what we want to watch, if you're a day trader or a scalper, if SPY is losing below this Friday's candle, which was 583.86 area, if we are losing below, I'm targeting the middle of this gap, 580, just because it's a whole number. So I'm watching to see. I would take my profit here, and then if I have runners and I see 580s being breaking below, I will continue to hold until the full gap is filled. So that's what you want to watch. However, if we stay above 585 area, we have now gap to the upside of it as well. So this is what I want to watch. If we are moving to the upside, if this gap can be filled, and then we also have a supply to the upside. Now let's go down to QQ. QQ, again, I have not updated my fibs yet. I will watch to see how this reacts. Hasn't filled the full gap yet. So I would like to, again, same method. If we are breaking below the 494, I'm looking for this to fill the gap, full gap fill, and then bounce from it. Or if we are still pulling back, these are my next two levels that I would watch. And if it is breaking 486, obviously 480 is your next level, and 478 into the demand zone, and then bounce from it. Okay, so now let's quickly look at VIX as well. So now VIX, you got a gap to the upside of it as well. So if we keep in mind the things that we just looked at, SPY and QQ has gaps to the downside and to the upside. But VIX also has gap to the upside. So if VIX is waking up and we are above $17 level, then I would look to see if VIX is gonna be filling this gap and move to the upside of it. Let's just quickly go over some of our daily scalping tickers, and then we'll go over what I'm looking for the swings. So Apple played out really well. If you did take the levels from the previous video, we did very, very well. Perfect bounce from that 220 area, and then we continue to the upside. Our resistance was this 228 area, and we pulled back. We're still in this zone. There's not really a swing on Apple at the moment. I would be careful. I want to have either this level breaken above and we hold, or I want to the downside 220 to be broken, and then target this small gap to be filled to the downside of it. Okay. All right, let's look at AMD. I did get stopped out of my swing on this one. So this demand definitely got flipped, so turning that into gray. We have a target now to the downside, this demand zone. However, there is now a gap if we are gonna fill that. So I did get stopped out of this. Was a swing that I took last week, and I did take a loss on it, but that's okay. I had a plan. If this does, this is where I will cut, and it did that, and I was out of my trade. So now I'm watching to see how do we react. Are we gonna continue to move to the upside and break, at least fill this gap? And before I will look for swing, I will wait for this to close above this 142 to 145 area before jumping into my calls, okay? And then target to the upside for this 150 area, and then the gap fill. However, if we are breaking below 132, I want to be cautious thinking about a swing zone. I'm looking for it to come into this area between 120 to 125 zone. Then I'll be a buyer in here. Let's look at Amazon. I got out on Amazon, I believe on this candle around the 272 or 10 area. So I had zero FOMO up here. I was already out of my long-term swing. So it's pulled back. We do have a gap to the upside. If the whole market is pulling back, Amazon does have a gap to the downside as well. Let's just quickly look at BA. Got out of the demand, but we recovered back into the next day. So this one might be ready, something to keep an eye on, but I would watch for it to close above 142. Coin, we reached the 2.5, our standard deviations, and perfect rejection and pulled back. Right now we're holding the 1.5, so I want to see if there's a room, especially crypto's been pretty strong, if we are gonna move to the upside of it. Let's see if Meta was another one, flipped a demand zone. I wasn't in a swing on this one, but I was hoping this thing was gonna hold the 570 area, but it didn't. So now we got a gap that we wanna see it filled, and then we have a demand to the 534 area. So I wanna be cautious still. That is a pretty bearish candle. We're gonna be opening new 3-day candles as well. Pretty bearish on this one. Weekly, yep. And we got a fair value gap to the week as well. So currently we are in our fair value gap right here on the week. So if we take and we want to see a 50% fill, we're looking for 541 area. If that's gonna get filled, that also happens to be right in your gap as well, if it is filling it. Okay, Microsoft pulling back, Netflix, we've hit 4, but I think Netflix might have a little bit more room to tag that 850 and 860 area as well. Nvidia, we went over. Tesla, everybody's favorite. We came pretty close to our 2.5 level and then rejected and pulled back. I would still like for it to come down to 300 area before I jump into it, but not a bad place as well for do day trading and scalping. There is a nice gap, that elections gap right here, that you want to keep an eye on as well if it wants to fill that. Okay, let's see, Square. So this is the one was a nice flag and it broke out of it. On earnings, it did pull back, did affect my contracts, was down almost, I think, 70-80% on these ones, and I was up 89%. But because I had time on it, I did hold, and they ended up hitting over 200% on it. And my first take profit was, I believe, $85 right around here. And then my trailing stop hit the next day on the remainder of my my contracts that pulled back. Okay, so now let's look at what swings we can look at it. Okay, swing tickets right here. GE. So this one I had a swing on it. I got stopped out. It got rejected in the gap and pulled back on it. So I like where it is right now. I want to see a confirmation this week to see if we are going to be holding 175. I will try a swing again with the 170 stop loss and for a gap fill to the upside of it. Coca-Cola is in demand zone. Uber, I really like this one. So we could do is, let's see, where is it? Long with where we are right now, $73. So I would put my stop loss here, target this supply zone. So let's move. If we get a pullback, that looks like a good swing. Risk to reward is looking pretty decent on it. I do like how the chart is looking. I like this daily trend line. If we can break and continue to the upside of it, this does look pretty good on Uber for a swing to the upside. This one I shared with you guys last week. PNG, we saw that sector, the XLP, was doing pretty well. So these contracts ended up going above 200% as well. So this one is looking really good. A perfect bounce out of our, I can't think, of our 75% retracement, and then the week we were looking at, the last week was the touch of the 50% at 165 and then take off. So there's still room. I'm still holding few runners on this one. I like the weekly. It's making that morning star pattern. If you know me, you know I love trading that pattern. So I'm looking, this is even starting to look more like an inverse head and shoulder as well. If we can have a little bit more pullback and then continue to the upside. The sector itself looks really good as well. So something that you guys want to watch. Okay, Now I am watching NE. So this one, before we had a nice cup and handle breakout. If you guys go back to my charts in the group from June, July, I had shared this chart that it has a cup and perfect handle breakout on it. Right now, I like the retest where we are, and I like where the golden zone is. This 76 level is a dark pool print. If we can close above the 76, 71 area, I would like to go long on this one as well with stop loss and try to fill that gap. And let's just, hold on, move the stop loss right about here. That is a pretty nice looking risk to reward on it. But again, you want to wait for it to break and hold above this dark pool print. I would even look for 77 to hold before jumping in it. And then you can scale out some at 78 level, scale out at $80, and then hold the runners to fill this $82 supply zone as well. Okay. Actually, I want to check since we are going to be opening a new 3-day candles. Oh, I like this. The 3-day candle looks very nice. Inside, let's look at the weekly. Oh, what a beautiful doji on the weekly, not doji, hammer candle on the weekly as well. Monthly looks very good as well. So I do like this trade, but not until it closes above the 77. Okay, CVX, daily. Okay, actually, let's start with the 3-month. I don't want this. Reset. That's a nice bull flag on CVS as well. That is looking pretty decent. I like this, pretty nice. Weekly looks good too. If we can break this trend line, get above the 161 area, definitely a buyer. Even if we have a pullback and we are holding this 135, 140 area, definitely a place to look for an entry as well. We got a smaller time frame demand as well. So let's go down to actually 3-day as well. Looking good. We are trying to break out. Daily undecided, but hey, you can keep an eye on. This could be a nice setup as well to the upside. Okay, another one I want to watch is for a smaller accounts. Keep an eye on Ford. This looks like a bearish flag to me. Does have a decent gap to the upside as well, and a fair value gap also. However, as long as you can do a short position, put your stop loss right there, target this demand zone. This is for smaller accounts. So if your capital isn't too big, if you have buy some time on it, these are looking, this could be a really nice stop at 11:15, 11:10 area, and then target to the downside. This their contract moves very well. So that's another one that you want to keep an eye on. Okay, so this is it for the coming week. Again, preserve your capital. You do not need to chase Nvidia. If you have any questions, if you guys are liking these, let me know, comment, like, and I will see you guys inside the group. Thank you.